Let's get into the latest news and rumors around OBJ. And if you're hoping to get the last two letters of OBJ's name, then I need you to go ahead and go to manscaped.com/chat, where you're going to be able to save 20% off and get free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. Christmas, the holidays, all the gift-giving holidays, I guess, if you will, right around the corner. Get yourself an awesome gift or maybe a loved one as well. So let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr. because apparently this guy wants to go to a postseason contender, and maybe he's a little bit bitter that he didn't get claimed on the waivers. I know personally I would be, right? But when you're talking about some potential fits for Beckham, this definitely could be something that we're going to keep you guys up to date on from top to bottom. He's a good receiver. Do I think he's a little bit overhyped? Yeah, I absolutely do. But what you guys are going to see here on today's show is I'm going to give you some insiders' opinions on where they think Odell's going to go. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on it, and it's just going to be an overall reaction to everything crazy that happened around Odell here on Wednesday. So let's look at Beckham's career because this is definitely a tale of two tapes. In those 59 games with the New York Giants, he had 390 receptions, 5,476 yards, 44 touchdowns. But what about 29 games with the Cleveland Browns over the last 3 years? 114 receptions, 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns. The biggest issue has been the injuries have started to pile up for Odell, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons why. Man, he's been really, really struggling, and now he's out of there. So here was a tweet that came across the screen today from Dianna Russini. On the day in which he could make his final decision, free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. is honing in on the Chiefs, Packers, and Saints per league sources. I almost read that as horning in, but maybe it's just because today's show is Manscaped, but, you know, what do I know? But the fact that she's throwing out these 3 teams right here, the Green Bay Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the New Orleans Saints, all 3 of these teams were my top 3 candidates for Odell Beckham's next team. Now, if you haven't seen that video yet, remember, we make shows here all the time at Chat Sports, but in terms of Green Bay, this fit would make a lot of sense. The Kansas City Chiefs, the New Orleans Saints, what I want you guys to do right now is go down in the comments section and get your votes in. And if you're watching this live, you can go ahead and vote on our live poll. Which team will go out and sign OBJ? If you think it's the Green Bay Packers, I want you to go ahead and type GB. Maybe you think it's the New Orleans Saints, type no. Kansas City, type KC. If you think it's somebody else, go ahead and type other, or be an overachiever and let me know which team you think that's going to be. Let's go to some more tweets here that I found on the internet, just simply scrolling through looking for the latest updates on OBJ. This one's from Dov Kleiman. The Packers have made a contract offer to Odell Beckham Jr., according to Tom Silverstein. It's for the vet minimum. Personally, I was kind of surprised when I saw this because I had the Packers as one of the front runners to go out and get him. And to only offer the vet minimum, I would imagine that OBJ and his team probably consider that a little bit of a slap in the face, so maybe he doesn't end up doing any Lambeau leaps anytime soon. What about Pro Football Talk, Tom's favorite person? There's a firm belief in some circles that OBJ will end up with the Saints, who tried to trade for him before the deadline. The question is whether he's comfortable with the quarterback situation and willing to take what the Saints can afford to pay. The 2 issues there. New Orleans does not have a lot of money. I believe the last time I checked, they were somewhere around like $1 million in terms of cap space. And I find it hard to believe if he wants to go to a good quarterback situation and go to an offense that can really make him thrive, if Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill, or Ian Book are the answers. My answer to that is probably not. What about Jeremy Fowler? He weighed in on it. The Seahawks have been in touch with Odell Beckham's reps during his free agency. Now, this fit makes a lot of sense. Now, are they a playoff contender? Probably not, currently sitting at 3-5. However, with Russell Wilson scheduled to come back, Seattle has been looking for a 3rd wide receiver for quite some time. And earlier on in the week, Pete Carroll was asked, hey, are you going to put in a claim for Odell Beckham? Obviously, they didn't, but he kind of had that Pete Carroll charm and giggle where he was like, you'll see. I do like the Seahawks, but again, I don't know if that's going to be the fit that ends up happening. Pro Football Talk again weighing in. The Patriots are definitely in on OBJ. Now, the Patriots are another team. Obviously makes some sense, and I've made this comparison before too with Randy Moss and the New England Patriots. And speaking of Randy, well, that's where we're going to go to here next, because he also weighed in on the 2 teams that he thought Odell Beckham should go to. He said the New England Patriots, and he also said the Las Vegas Raiders, which I thought both of these were pretty interesting. Now, I'll show you what Moss had to say here in a second, but if you're growing some funky moss down below, get rid of it with the Lawnmower 4.0. Head on over to manscaped.com/chat and use promo code chat where you can save 20% off and get free shipping on the best male grooming product. Now, I use the Lawnmower 4.0 literally every single week. What I love about it is the changeable blades. Don't be the person that uses the same blade on your downstairs as you use on your chest and as you use on your face. Don't be that guy. Now, it's rechargeable. This like little battery thing that you see over here, I wish I could point to it a little bit better, but you can tell when your razor's running out of steam. Have you ever been in a situation where you've started shaving and then all of a sudden the battery dies on you and you're like, shit, what the hell do I do now? If that happens with a Manscaped product, that's a you problem, not a problem. I love also at the very end of this bad boy, there's a light. So if you're trying to get into those hard-to-reach places, I don't know about you, man. There's always a situation where I'm shaving. I got my foot up here, and I'm trying to get in these spots, and I'm like, dude, I don't know where I'm going. With the Lawnmower 4.0, that doesn't happen. I just got a wink from Marshall because I think he saw how well I've been using my Manscaped products, and you guys can use them too. Go to manscaped.com/chat, 20% off, free shipping. It makes an unbelievable gift for the holiday season. All right, let's get into some of those quotes here from Randy Moss. You talk about this, Beckham's last chance. I remember them talking about me going into my 10th year. This is my last chance. That's the reason why I'm talking about the New England Patriots. They have young stud in Mac Jones, Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick, and being able to keep his mind right. Do I think that New England would be able to keep Odell Beckham Jr.'s mind right? To a certain degree, yes, I do. However, realistically, since Randy Moss, every single wide receiver that has gone to New England has not really been able to do what they were hoping to be able to do. I do like Mac Jones as a quarterback, but that's not the way that this offense is going to work. You're not going to see Mac Jones slinging it around and OBJ coming down with all these stats because even though he says he wants to go to a playoff contender, and by all accounts, New England is, he still wants to be able to put up some numbers. Now, sure, he would be the wide receiver one, but I can absolutely see Beckham being that type of dude that after every single game, even if they win, they're like, man, I only had 3 catches for 44 yards. My fantasy owners are going to hate me. That shit's not going to fly. And the other difference between Randy with he's saying all this, well, Tom Brady ain't there anymore, so I really don't think that he would thrive statistically with the Patriots. So, Randy, I appreciate your 2 cents, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of deflect that. Now, what about Moss saying that, hey, the Las Vegas Raiders would be a potential spot? That's why I say the Las Vegas Raiders. He can still be effective in all 3 levels in the passing game with Deshaun Jackson going deep. When you look at a guy like OBJ and everything as far as his accolades and his fame, you can't really send him to a locker room that already has a number 1 dominant receiver. Sure, and I understand the idea of having a number 1 dominant receiver, but if OBJ goes to the Las Vegas Raiders, he's not going to be the number 1 option. The number 1 option for the Raiders will be Darren Waller. And then in terms of targets, I still think that Hunter Renfrow, who has a connection with Derek Carr, ends up getting the ball more. And for the Raiders, I get it. He might be the number 1 receiver, but Las Vegas was spreading the ball all around. There was a time where the Raiders were the only team in the NFL to have 4 players over 300 receiving yards. Now, sure, Henry Ruggs is no longer in the picture, and I can imagine that's the only reason why Moss threw them in. But when you look at all the reports, when you look at everything else out there, I would be shocked if OBJ ended up going to New England, and I would really be shocked if he goes to the Raiders because, according to Vic Tafur, he's not going to go to the Raiders. Now, whatever team ends up getting OBJ, we do a lot of videos here at Chat Sports. We try to make multiple ones for you every single week. On top of that, we go live. I can guarantee you whenever Odell Beckham Jr. signs, whether it's with the Patriots, Raiders, Packers, Chiefs, Saints, whoever the hell it is, I know it's not going to be the Giants or the Browns, though. We're going to be making a video around it, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you can't find the sub button, luckily for you in the live chat, there's a link there. Just click that, and then turn on your notifications. We were telling you guys before the NFL trade deadline, turn on your noties. I still want you to do this here. So how do you do it on your mobile device? There's a bell. It's called the notification bell. You click that, and then you click all. That way you don't miss any of the videos. Now, maybe you're not on a mobile device right now and you're watching on your, your iPad or your desktop. This is what it'll look like on your screen. There's a bell underneath the video. Again, click that right next to the subscribe button. And then in big old letters, this reminds me of my dad's cell phone when he gets a text message because he's blind. Then you click all. You do that, you're not going to miss any news, rumors, or anything going on around Odell Beckham Jr. All right, guys, let's get into some more tweets here from some NFL insiders, if you will. Dov Kleiman, both the Packers' Matt LaFleur and Chiefs' Andy Reid didn't confirm or deny if their teams have interest in signing OBJ. Now, I feel like a lot of times as a head coach, especially with LaFleur and Andy Reid, not that they're good at being able to deflect, but this is how you should handle it. You're not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, we're interested. You're also not going to sit there and say, no, we're not interested, because I feel like every NFL team should at least do their homework, do their due diligence, and figure out whether or not they're going to go out and get a player like OBJ. Now, another guy who's been pretty vocal about this whole OBJ consideration has been Keyshawn Johnson, and today he threw out a team that he believes could be a sneaky team for him. He threw out the Arizona Cardinals, and some of the points that he made were Arizona's been very aggressive so far this season. They could be potentially a little bit worried about an injury to DeAndre Hopkins, who's been battling that hammy. I, again, would be very surprised if they did go out and get OBJ, because that would be one hell of a crowded receiver room. Though A.J. Green right now is on IR and injured. Hopkins, as I mentioned, has been battling an injury. Rondell Moore, he's an up-and-coming player, but if he goes to Arizona, man, they are all in right now. So some of the teams that are out on Odell Beckham Jr. The Detroit Lions said that they're not going to go out and get him, and in fact, they went out and signed Josh Reynolds today, or at least claimed him. The New York Giants, I know, shocking, they're not interested. And I was actually also surprised to see a report that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers apparently not interested in Odell Beckham Jr. So now what we're going to go through here is this. Anytime a big-name player, whether they hit the free agent market or they don't get claimed, you see all these companies out there, they put out their top destinations. Now, we also did that here at Chat Sports, but here's CBS Sports' top destinations for Odell Beckham Jr. Packers, Saints, Seahawks, Patriots, Raiders. Very similar to this company called Sporting News Destinations as well, where the only real difference there is the Chiefs and the Raiders. I'm a betting man, and I would go ahead and say that the Chiefs have a much better chance of getting Odell Beckham than, well, the Raiders. What about Stephen A. Smith? He chimed in on it. He thought the Los Angeles Rams made a lot of sense because they've been extremely aggressive this offseason. The Packers and the Chiefs. Now, when you look at all these teams, and a lot of them, again, they're teams that are competing for a playoff spot, could potentially be looking to grow OBJ's brand, and then overall just get him targets. But when I really think about overall where he could end up going, he wants to go to a playoff contender, and he wants to go to a team where he really believes that he can truly thrive and put up some good numbers. So here y'all, here's where we're going. If you were Odell Beckham Jr., which team would you sign with, right? Like, think about all the areas here in terms of you have the potential, you have the Chiefs, you have the Packers, you have the Rams, you have all these teams. Now, the fact that nobody claimed him, maybe he carries a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and I know I've definitely been a person that said he's probably one of the more overrated receivers that I have ever come across, simply because of the name value that he brings. But if you were OBJ, which team would you sign with? Would you sign with a team that overall is the best fit, the team that's going to pay you the most money, or maybe the team that goes ahead and has the best chance of winning? So for me, I went ahead and I broke all three of those phases down. The best fit for OBJ, if I was just looking for the team where I believe I could put up the best stats, the best numbers, that way when I go into free agency, I have some good numbers to look with, I'm going to go ahead and say it's the Green Bay Packers, because he could be that number 2 next to Devontae Adams, and sure, maybe he wants to be a number 1, but there are plenty of targets to go around in that Green Bay offense. Now, what about the best overall, story, right? Where if I'm looking to just go to a team where I think they're going to welcome me in with open arms, the fan base is going to love me, I'm going to be able to build my brand, I'm going to go ahead and say it's the New Orleans Saints. He played college football at LSU, also grew up in Louisiana. Some people say he's a Saints fan, though. I've also heard he's a Cowboys fan, but the best story overall is for the Saints. Now, what about the team that gives them the best chance to win, right? Because I do think at a certain point in your career, he's obviously made tons of money. He's got plenty of social media clout. He wants to win football games. I am also going to throw out there the Green Bay Packers, who man, I really think that they're the best team in the NFL. Since losing that Week 1 game against the Saints, they've been unbelievable. The only reason why they lost to Kansas City this past week is because we all know Aaron Rodgers wasn't on the field. So if I was OBJ, I would sit here and say the Green Bay Packers, they make the most sense.